unable to do it. It's Gauff who gets through it in the end, and she'll be relieved that that was done eventually in straight sets, didn't have to go to 3. Difficulties for both.
Coco Gauff has been having a rough stretch, and the tennis world has been watching very closely. But she walked onto the court in Dubai, faced the exact player who embarrassed her in this same tournament 2 years ago, and handled her business. It was not clean, it was not pretty, but it was done. Drop a comment below. Do you think Coco Gauff is genuinely finding her form again? Or is this still a work in progress heading into the rest of the season? Let's be real about where Coco Gauff was coming into this match, because context is everything, and skipping it would do this win a disservice. The 2026 season has not started the way Gauff or anyone who follows her career would have drawn it up.
It was supposed to be a private moment. American tennis star Coco Gauff smashing her racket in frustration. Commentators and the whole world, though, watching it happen live.
Wow.
The racket smash happening after a huge upset for the 21-year-old in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open, losing to Ukrainian Aryna Sabalenka.
Svitolina stuns!
The Australian Open ended with a quarterfinal loss to Aryna Sabalenka, a result that stung not because Svitolina is not a quality player, because she absolutely is, but because Gauff had genuine Grand Slam expectations heading into Melbourne and fell short of them. Then she traveled to Doha, and the very first match of that tournament ended in a loss to Elisabetta Cocciaretto, a player ranked significantly lower who had no business sending a top 3 seed home in round 1 by any conventional logic. So Gauff arrived in Dubai carrying some baggage. Not the catastrophic career crisis kind of baggage. She is 21 years old, she is a Grand Slam champion, she is the 3rd seed in this tournament, and one rough month does not erase any of that. But the baggage of a player who knows she has not been at her best, who knows people are watching to see how she responds, and who knows that confidence in tennis is as important as any technical skill you can name. And then the draw gave her Anna Kalinskaya in round 2.
She'll take that for an opening point, I would think.
Of all the opponents to pull at this particular moment, Kalinskaya might be the most loaded name on the board from a history standpoint. 2 years ago, right here in Dubai, Kalinskaya beat Gauff in the quarterfinals, 2-6, 6-4, 6-2. A match that started well for Gauff and then completely flipped on its head. A result that, at the time, put Kalinskaya on the path to her first WTA 1000 final. For Gauff, it was the kind of loss that lives in the back of your mind. Not defining, but present.
Anything short, she'll open up with that 4. Very smooth use of the forehand there.
So this was not a neutral matchup. This was a rematch with history attached to it, played in the same city, at the same event. While Gauff is in the middle of a form crisis she is very publicly trying to work her way out of. The tennis gods have a sense of humor, and they were clearly in a dramatic mood when the draw was made. What happened on court was exactly the kind of match you would expect given all of that. Complicated, inconsistent, and ultimately decided by who wanted it more when the pressure was highest. The final score was 6-4, 6-4 in favor of Gauff, which looks tidy on paper. The actual match was anything but tidy. Kalinskaya came out aggressive. She led 2-0 in the first set, and then 3-1 in the second. She was going for broke. Hard, flat strikes from the baseline, trying to shorten points, trying to take time away from Gauff before she could settle into rallies and impose her game. It was a smart tactical approach for a player who was also, it turned out, dealing with a physical issue. Kalinskaya took a medical timeout midway through the match for treatment on her left leg. She was not at full capacity, and the strategy of trying to end points quickly, rather than grind through long exchanges, made even more sense in that context. But even with a physical handicap and an aggressive game plan, Kalinskaya racked up 45 unforced errors to just 11 winners. That is not a winning formula regardless of how hard you are hitting the ball. When your error count is more than 4 times your winner count, the math is eventually going to catch up with you. And it did. Gauff was not exactly flawless on her side of the net. She committed 12 double faults. 12. That is a number that should not be possible in a 6-4, 6-4 win, and yet here we are. She also added 33 unforced errors of her own, which means this match featured a combined 78 unforced errors between the two players. The conditions played a role. It was reportedly very windy in Dubai during the match, and wind makes clean ball striking genuinely difficult regardless of your skill level. But still, 12 double faults is a serve problem, and serve problems are something Gauff will need to sort out before she runs into opponents who can punish it more effectively than Kalinskaya did today. What saved Gauff, and what actually made this win meaningful beyond just the result, were the moments when she was genuinely excellent. Her defense was exceptional at key points throughout the match. There was a sliced backhand winner off a Kalinskaya volley that was described as one of the best shots of the entire match. The kind of instinctive, creative, high-difficulty shot that only players with real talent can produce, especially under pressure. And on return of serve, Gauff was a constant threat. Kalinskaya won just 46% of her first serve points, which is a brutal number. When a server is only winning less than half of the points behind her first serve, the returner is essentially breaking serve on a regular basis, regardless of what the scoreboard shows at any given moment. Gauff acknowledged all of it after the match with the kind of honesty that is actually pretty refreshing compared to the standard post-match athlete speak. "It wasn't the prettiest one, but it was enough for today," she said in her on-court interview. "It was pretty windy. I was just trying to adjust. Both of us were struggling with consistency on the court." That is a fair and accurate description of what happened. She did not try to spin it into something more than it was. She won a messy match in difficult conditions against an opponent who had beaten her before, while both players were struggling, and she walked away with the W. Sometimes that is what a confidence builder looks like. It is not always the dominant, clean performance that makes the highlight reel. Sometimes it is grinding through ugly and coming out the other side intact. In her press conference, she went a step further and named exactly what this win meant in the context of her season. "Just trying to find form again, which is tough," she said. "Obviously, Anna's a tough opponent. She's beaten some quality players. She beat me here a couple of years ago. I'm happy with how today went. Winning when you're not playing your best is what I'm most proud of." That last line is the one that matters. Winning when you're not playing your best. That is a championship mindset. That is the thing that separates players who win multiple Grand Slams from players who win one and then disappear. The ability to close out matches when everything is not clicking, when your serve is misfiring, when the wind is messing with your rhythm, when the opponent is making things difficult. Elite players find ways. They compete through the noise. And today, Gauff competed through the noise. The revenge factor is also not nothing. 2 years is a long time in tennis, and the landscape changes constantly. Players rise, fall, get injured, reinvent themselves. So it would be an exaggeration to say Gauff has been carrying this specific loss around as some kind of motivating grudge the whole time. But in competitive sports, there is always a different energy when you step on the court against someone who has beaten you before, especially at the same tournament where that loss happened. The body remembers. The muscle memory of how that defeat felt is somewhere in the background. Getting the win cleanly, even if the performance was far from clean, closes a loop in a way that matters psychologically. Now, the work is not done, not even close. Gauff's next opponent in the round of 16 is Elise Mertens, who had an absolutely dominant day of her own, beating number 14 seed Emma Navarro 6-2, 6-2 in just 75 minutes. That is a beating. Navarro is a quality player, a seeded player, a top 20 player in the world, and Mertens took her apart in under an hour and 15 minutes. That performance demands respect. However, the head-to-head history between Gauff and Mertens is not a source of concern for Gauff at all. Gauff leads their head-to-head 4-0. 4 wins, 0 losses. On hard court specifically, it is 2-0 in Gauff's favor. So statistically, historically, this is a favorable matchup for her. Mertens will not fold. She is too experienced and too competitive to just hand anything over. But Gauff will enter that match as a significant favorite, and she will enter it having just gotten a win under her belt that, however imperfect, reminded her that she can still compete and find ways to win when she is not at her peak. That matters. That matters more than people give it credit for when assessing a player's trajectory in the middle of a complicated season. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture, because the Kalinskaya win is one data point in what is going to be a long and important year for Coco Gauff. She won the US Open in 2023. She has been inside the top 5 in the world rankings for over a year. She is the 3rd seed in Dubai right now, which reflects the WTA's assessment of where she stands in the current hierarchy of women's tennis. Those are not the credentials of a player in freefall. Those are the credentials of a player going through a rough patch in a season that still has 11 months left to run. The Australian Open loss to Svitolina was real. The Doha first-round exit was real. The 12 double faults against Kalinskaya are real. None of that is being dismissed here. The tennis has not been at the level Gauff is capable of producing, and she knows it better than anyone because she is the one living it every day on practice courts and in match situations. But here is what is also real. She is 21 years old. She is a US Open champion. She has won on the biggest stages this sport offers. She has been the best player in the world at various points over the past 2 years. The tools are there. The talent is undeniable. And today, in a windy desert city against a player who had beaten her before, while her serve was misfiring and the conditions were making clean tennis nearly impossible, she found a way to win. The road back to form is rarely a straight line. It is usually a messy, inconsistent process full of ugly wins and frustrating performances and slow, incremental progress that is hard to see from the outside until suddenly the player comes out the other side and the results start reflecting the talent again. Gauff is somewhere in the middle of that process right now, and a win like this one, a confidence boost, as she called it, is part of what moves that process forward. The Dubai draw is still very much alive for her. Mertens next, and if she gets through that, who knows what the bracket looks like in the later rounds. There are quality players all over this tournament, and nothing is guaranteed past the next match. But Gauff is in the draw, she is playing, she is competing, and she just reminded herself that winning ugly is still winning. The prettiness can come later. The W is what counts today. Coco Gauff came, she struggled, and she still found a way to win. That right there is the sign of a champion working her way back. Dubai is not over yet, and neither is Gauff's season. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.